is a woman. When she get out of besieged Homs, she was holding just one box, without any clothes or some money. And I shocked when I know there is a cat in that box. And after I asked her why she get it with her, she told me, I don't have a children. They're all killed, and after that, I care of this cat. And all day I search for food for me and it will never lose as I lose my sons. In Aleppo, there was a woman lose her big son after 2 weeks, the younger, and after a month, she lose the youngest, because of shelling from Syrian government. After a few months of that, the father, her husband, is attacked by unknown people. Then the man can't walk or move, so she doesn't found anything else, suicide from 4th floor. There is thousands in neighborhoods of besieged Homs, FSA member and civilians. All of these are hungry because of blockade from Syrian government. And this story, one of the civilians told me it. In neighborhoods of besieged Homs, we all try to find something to eat. And when we found something, we hide it for us, family. And when we eat in our house, we lock the door very hard. And when somebody, we hide the food. And when he go, we resume the eat again. And he poisoning toe, times because he was eat anything he found. Now he is free and eat. Now he is out of neighborhoods of besieged Homs. The UN help a lot of people to leave the siege, with protect them from Syrian government. My name is Shero Sulaiman. I was born in Kurdish city Qamishlo in Syria, because I did not have government documents and rights to have it in propose with political issue. More than 300,000 like my situation in 1970 until now. I couldn't finish 12th grade school, and we went to university. I had very good score. I could study in construction, angering, prestige professional. No, unfortunately, the matter of this problem was am born as Kurdish. I began working as general labor with inhumanity condition. I have to help my family because my father was blind and disabled. The life in Syria is depend and ruling by one law. You with us, it's mean you our slave, or you against us, it means you have to die. No one can break that, or forget about not only you, and all your relatives. Kurdish peoples from the childhood become a political analysis, due to brutal and unfair system. All of them members of Kurdish political party, me too started, regularly attend a meeting of one of them, house asking for freedom and human and political rights for Kurdish in Syria. In 2004, first time in Syria, somebody cut a pictures of President Assad. Everywhere, even in WC, was a Kurds in Qamishlo city. And all the Kurds everywhere in Syria stand up against regime, and of course the regime show his original face, and more than 36 young peoples was martyrs. One of them, closer friend, I saw him, we was together at the uprising, and after he got a bullet in his head, they shot us not like regular killers, no, with hatting and enjoyment. Nobody can understand, only howls being there. After that, the special forces of regime began mass arrest of Kurdish peoples, no matter you guilty or not. I was one of these innocent prisoners to understand which kind of miserable treat with us let me give you an good example. The guards drew a map of his lovely country by knife on your back. And if he hear you, he's going to put some salt on the biggest injury on your body. etc. In prison, you ask the guards to kill you with favor because you wish to die and hope at every second, not minute. Sorry, I don't want to even remember some things else, because me, normal person, after 4 years in Sardania prison in Damascus, just for political, they release as condition every Friday. I have to go to them office and report information about my peoples. If you reject that, better to write your last will. I went where no family, parents died. After a few months, I decide to myself, or to be cheap rat, and with no horror, or you should escape. I'm living now in one of the Western country, and still have that will to assist and help my people somehow. Just for one reason, I cannot change why God create me a Kurdish. I lived in a happy city with my mom and my little brother. My country was beautiful and wonderful, and has everything which makes you happy and pleased. That was a bad day. A despot power, a tyrant government became the ruler of my country. It was imprisoning people, torturing them, and forced its damn control all over my beloved homeland. In one day, the greater the tyrant in his tyranny, and the people became very angry of his bad actions. People decided to rise up against his tyrannical rule, but instead of being reconciled with the people, he killed them, and shelled cities by all kinds of weapons, triggered panic among the people. He sent his savage soldiers to kill people, and shed the blood of those who call for freedom and democracy. Hundreds of deaths fall in the city of my country, and the rest of people became afraid for themselves, while police were arresting and killing revolutionary people. I was in my city, afraid for myself and my mother and my little brother, while the people protest and participate in the demonstrations against the authoritarian government. I participate in some of those demonstrations because I condemn the tyranny government, and I stand against it always. But the police met the demonstrations with violence. They opened fire on the demonstrating crowd, in addition to throwing gas grenades, and arrested a lot of people. When the police suppressed demonstrations, I was running and hiding from the savage police. The adrenaline reaches to its highest level in my body. I hide myself behind a wall or a rock or a car to escape from the police. One day, the police caught a young man in a small garden near to our house and beat him up severely, then arrested him and took him to jail because he was calling freedom slogans and reject injustice. I cannot forget that attitude, no matter what I did. It was quite moving attitude. The police was ruthless and never show mercy. Cruel police officers were hitting people like animals. On the last day, people said that the tyrant's army will invade our city tonight in order to punish the revolution. I hurried to the house and told my mother this. We packed our bags very quickly and went out of town to escape certain death. We left our house behind us. Actually, the army entered the city. It killed my friends and destroyed my house. The house turned into ruins and debris, and the garden turned into a graveyard. I become far away from my country, which was destroyed by the offender army. My city becomes empty of people. Now it much resembles Stalingrad, the Soviet city, which was destroyed in World War II. I want to return to my country. I want to end the war and return to my homeland as soon as possible. I'm from the Kurds, so we used to have a lot of problems with the Syrian government. The government in Syria was hostile to the Kurds in Syria, and it ignores their rights because it was an Arab government, was suppressed Kurds, and often prevents them from practicing their traditions, speaking their own language and wearing their clothes. Even naming names in Kurdish was banned by Arab Baath Party tyranny government. Kurdish man was afraid to say, "I am a Kurdish," and if he said so, he would be arrested and taken to jail. Tyrant Arab Baath Party used to write on identity cards of Kurdish people, "This person is an Arab." Kurdish Newroz celebration, 21 of March, is an old celebration back to more than 600 BC. Kurdish people celebrate Newroz Day every year. Baath Party government was suppressing the celebrations every year and kills young men and women of the Kurds as punishment for celebrating Newroz. One day I was there when the Newroz celebrations was happening in my avenue. I went out and participated in the young men and women dancing, and they are very happy, stoking the fire, and everyone is in great pleasure. And of course the habit every year, the police attacked the ceremony. In the beginning, they sprayed hot water on people. Everyone escaped, and I was with them. I was so scared, and the people did not know what to do. They only escaped from death. Everyone screaming and running around in hysteria. Then the sadistic police cars came on and fired live ammunition at people to disperse them. I rushed to the house of my aunt who was close and entered it quickly, and I hear the sounds of bullets and screams. I opened the door a little because I wanted to know whether the horrible situation is over or not. But I was surprised by a person hit by a bullet in the head. He fell immediately to the ground, but it seems that the bullet went through the side of his head, just did not kill him. 3 young men from my town died in Newroz that year. I know them very well. They sacrificed for the sake of freedom. Newroz will remain forever. I ride a large bus with a lot of people to take me to the capital city. People were in disarray. Everyone was calling his family members. People were getting in the overcrowded bus to escape the army's entry to the cities. While I am on the road, I could see a lot of military vehicles and tanks on the highway. All the people were afraid of them, and everyone was very silent when you walk beside one of them. Their number was significant and tremendous, as it prepares to break into the cities, to discipline people because they came out in the revolution. The tanks were making the person really scary and terrifying. I was very scared when I saw it. I was shaking in fear, trying to hide my frightening feelings, and I kept my mouth shut because if I say a word in front of the soldiers, they would shoot me. The savage soldiers were standing beside those tanks. They were laughing and scoffing at people. People were very much afraid of them because they were armed and vicious. When I left my country, I could see those tanks compact and arranged in very large numbers on the road, and were preventing people from passing because of its plenty. The soldiers were torturing people and killing them in cold blood. They were taking people's money and all of their belongings by force. I came out of my country against my will. It is vacated and destroyed by the tyrant army, killing good people and destroying their homes. But one day the right will triumph. I'm sure of this. Chemical attack on Halabja city is the attack happened in the last days of the Iran-Iraq war, where the city of Halabja was occupied by the Iranian army. But when the Iraqi army defeated the Iranian army shell cyanide gas on the city before entering it, which led to the death of more than 5,500 of Iraqi Kurds from the city's residents. Iraqi forces attacked chemically on the city of Halabja in the last days of the First Gulf War between Iran and Iraq from March 16 to 17, 1988. About 3,200 to 5,000 of the town's residents were killed immediately, and 7,000 to 10,000 of them was wounded. Mostly civilians, thousands of residents of the town have died in the year following because of health complications and diseases and birth defects. The attack was sometimes known as genocide, the largest chemical attack directed against a civilian population of one race. They are Kurds even today, which is consistent with the description of genocide in international law that must be directed against a particular group or race intent of revenge or punishment. Saddam Hussein's regime was one of the worst dictatorships that ruled Iraq. He killed a lot of Kurds and practiced racial discrimination against them. That was during the military campaign's organization aimed to prosecuting the Kurds and oppressing them. The latest was the attack with lethal cyanide gas on the Kurdish city of Halabja. Iraqi military aircraft flew over the sky, carrying the poisonous gas. People lost their lives immediately after the launch of the gas. The gas killed about 5,000 people during the first 20 minutes. Chemical attacks last for about 3 hours, destroyed the whole Kurdish city, and finished all forms of life in it. The city of Halabja became silent, without anyone, with none of its inhabitants. All the people died due to the deadly potassium cyanide gas. There were people who wanted to go out for a picnic, and others wanted to walk around the city. But the gas killed all of them very quickly. There was a woman in the kitchen carrying a knife in her hand and a carrot. She died on the spot. The young children dead and fall on the roads and on the edges of houses. There was nobody alive. The city was completely silent. Journalists entered the city after the attack and took pictures of much of its dead population. They narrated their stories and everything they saw in the wounded city of Halabja. Layla Quazim was a brave Kurdish girl, not afraid of death. She resisted the tyranny that was practiced by the regime of Saddam Hussein. Layla held arms with the Kurdish residents who were defending their usurped rights, and they achieved many victories on Saddam Hussein's forces in spite of their simple weapons. But their faith was strong, and they had great courage. Iraqi forces were brutal and sadistic, torturing Kurds too much, imprisoned them and deprived them of their rights. They wouldn't show any mercy to anyone. Finally, Iraqi Arab soldiers captured Layla Quazim, the struggler Kurdish girl, and put her in jail. Then the role of torture and pain has become. They offered her to be a spy working for them, but she refused, so they have started torturing her. They raped her and beat her up severely. Finally, they opened pockets in her skin and her body. They fill it with salt, to be hurting even more, and then she died because of the severity of the torture she was subjected to. The Kurdish resistance did not stop fighting against Saddam Hussein's forces, and has done everything in order to achieve the freedom of Kurdistan and the Kurdish people, and to revenge for the spirit of the martyr Layla Quazim. I am from Syria, actually from Kurdistan, Syria. I saw a lot of war scenes and situations. I lived in a city, but now the city is occupied and destroyed. I get out of my country, Syria, to escape with my life of that war. Now I live in Yemen. I study at Faculty of Medicine in Sana's University. But even Yemen is an unstable country, and I've seen a lot of war